Do you need goals in your life? The short answer is of course. But there's also a longer, more nuanced answer regarding the question, do you need to set goals? Do you need the whole procedure? After all, a lot of people set goals. Do they achieve them? Oftentimes the answer is unfortunately no. And if you don't achieve the goals you set, why should you in the first place? Before we dive into the topic, it is important to clarify setting goals because it might be confusing to some why we even debate it. After all, if you misunderstand, you might think I'm talking about whether you should have goals you want to achieve as one alternative, and the other alternative would be for you to move through the world following the wind. 1 week working retail, selling clothing, while the next you go dog sitting. 1 week you go run a marathon, and the next you go learn a new language. This is not what I mean with setting goals. Think about it like this. Some people always wanted to be a doctor. Since they were children, they saw themselves as somebody practicing medicine, looking for cures, helping people. Medicine was the only path they ever considered. You wouldn't call what they did a goal-setting procedure, but you also realize these people are not moving around aimlessly. They have a clear path and know what they need to do. You might not need to set goals because you figure out what you want to do and walk that path. And you can see that there are some potential advantages here. You have a clear vision on what you want to do and are not bogged down by daily actions for the variety of goals you might find for yourself, but rather you live your life in the way you want for a while, moving ahead towards your big picture destination. And again, this can work great without setting goals because you will still approach it methodically. You will still ask yourself what skills you will need, what you should be learning and doing. When I ask, should you set goals, it is not about finding or not finding what you desire and the path you want to walk on in the grand scheme of your life. You will have to figure out your path with or without setting goals. What I'm talking about is the more technical approach to it. A technical approach to the variety of elements that could be in your life. The analysis of your situation, goals like learning skills, learning a language, considering whether you are happy and what you might do to fix it, and so on. And have this all around you every single day with the focus on these things. Imagine you have a destination and put it into your GPS and go for it. Compare that to having dozens of tasks that you plan along the way and you put them also into your GPS. The coffee breaks, the various places you want to visit, the hotels you will use, the pit stops, and so on. Even though the answer to setting goals seems like a clear yes, you can see how quickly it can become overwhelming. We have all known, including ourselves, people that tried to set goals, thought through what they desired, added a time frame, and put it on a digital piece of paper. What happened to them? Did they had success achieving their goals and lived happily ever after? Oftentimes this worked for a day, a week. This might have worked for a month or 2 months. But over time, they started to neglect it, do a little bit less, ignore one part, then they ignored most parts until the goal disappeared completely. Sometimes they at least got something out of it, but many times it just added a lot of stress without a lot of benefits. Was this all for naught? Was this just a useless exercise that did nothing? Especially considering you know what you want to do. It's not like the options between doing nothing and going nowhere and setting goals. I mean, the moment you know, if you're even remotely normally intelligent, that if you want to become a doctor, you also understand you need to learn about medicine and all these elements, right? So you don't need to necessarily sit down and set goals for the logic to work with you and then be able to do these things. It might be simply useless and even counterproductive, where you enter this ugly downward spiral where you set goals in the beginning, you work on them, and then you stop and then remind yourself, oh, you haven't done the work on your goals today, which means you're behind and you just struggle with yourself and feel bad about the situation. It is good to consider why the practice of setting goals might not be useful, and yet there are advantages in doing so. The answer here is very straightforward. All of the negatives of setting goals have solutions. On the other hand, saying no to introspection and no to gathering more clarity in your life while also taking more control of your life seems to always be the wrong choice, assuming you're willing to evaluate and adapt your practice of goal setting. Think about it like that. If you analyze your life and only set yourself 1, 2, or 3 goals, your life will probably become much more intense, but also more beneficial. Maybe just one more skill you want to add. Maybe you will recognize an interest you didn't realize you had and will explore that. The whole system of setting goals and going for them is powerful. Just be careful not to let it devour you. You are in control, so if only one additional goal is what makes sense to you, then so be it. all the issues of setting goals can be solved, and what comes out at the end is a path to better. This is always preferable because inside of the process you can always say no to things. This will give you at least the option, whereas avoiding the procedure will not. The exploration of the usefulness of setting goals starts with the foundation. Why would you set goals? Once you understand the core logic, the idea of why it exists, what the potential problems are you're trying to solve, you can then easier evaluate those. Once you start thinking deeper, you realize the question I mentioned before. Setting goals is good, but many people don't seem to achieve those. What is the point then? Most people don't achieve the goals they set. They don't even start trying. Sometimes they give up early or they move to something else. Goals have various sizes and difficulties, but they should have a certain minimum of meaning and difficulty involved. You could, in theory, have the goal of eating McDonald's and then you go and get yourself something to eat from there and mark it as a goal completed, but that's obviously not what we're talking about here. Your goal might be to learn a certain new skill. Your goal might be to work for somebody special, work in a certain area, finish school or get a certain degree, have some internal changes, or move to a place where you want to live. So you are at position A, where you don't have the goal, and then there's B, the goal, and you would like to go from A to B. And obviously also become the person that is able to reach B. The first important question you should ask yourself is, do you actually want to go to B? Do you actually want it? And this is a more important question than you realize, because if you don't really want a goal, then you will not be able to give it the energy, focus, time, and push through what is normally required to achieve it. After all, failing and going for it, again, energy investment and time investment will always be part of the path towards achieving your goals. The next part is the evaluation of what you bring to the table. Do you have the foundational skills to achieve this goal? Or do you need to develop them first? Do you have the resources available to achieve these goals? Do you know the right people? A good example is you would like to work as a, let's say, investor in a certain company now. Making it easy, we will ignore all the other elements that might be relevant. What do you need for it? You will most likely need an acceptable degree with good grades. You will most likely need certain soft skills like being able to connect with people, so you might get good information for your investments, but also being able to work hard with grit. You will need the actual hard skill of investing, understanding elements like how to evaluate a company, leadership, the market, and so on. Lastly, do you know the right people that might help you, give you a spot, or at least introduce you to people that matter? There's a good chance that a lot of people are already interested in working there, which means you need an edge. All these ingredients, you'll have to bring them together to then have a chance to achieve those goals. And the bigger and more massive the goals, the better the ingredients you need and the more work it takes to acquire and improve them. The process of creating goals will give us clarity. It gives us something to work with. Considering all that we need, it is necessary to have a system created that will make us work and improve on what we need in order to achieve our biggest desires. This means there are powerful advantages to the practice of setting goals if we can do it right. The issues are real and there's plenty to work on. However, this just means we need to improve our goal setting instead of not doing it at all. So let's talk about how to improve it. There are two elements here that I would like to look into. First, make sure you don't set a lot of goals. Take out a few and then work on them, but, and this will be counterintuitive, don't set long-term goals at this stage. At least not as the ones you are going to focus on. It is fun and useful to consider what it is that you want to do in the next 5 or 10 years and strategize for it. To give you a powerful guide into your bigger and smaller steps. This will help you get a deeper level of clarity than you got from your normal goal setting. However, if you want to achieve them, there are issues if you base your path on those long-term goals. For instance, you won't do them. Humans have difficulties getting a sense of long time frames, which means if you want to do something but you have a long time for it, you will put it off. There's a concept called Parkinson's Law that says work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Imagine you have two separate projects to complete. The only difference is that for one project you have 1 month to complete it, and for the other project you have 2 months. So they are the same projects, but they're not done at the same time, so there is no influence. Most people will normally finish both tasks at the deadline. Even though it is the same, the ones that have 1 month will finish it by the end of 1 month. The ones that have 2 months will finish it at the end of 2 months. This does make sense because in one you have literally 1 extra month to finish it, and yet from our own experience and from studies we somehow realize and know we divide work time in a way where we finish close to the deadline. Now look at another example. See the difference between goal 1, finish writing a book that will have 12 chapters in it in 1 year, and goal 2, write a chapter this month and then the next month also. It might sound like it's the same, and certainly in 12 months, in theory, both will have a finished book of 12 chapters. It is difficult to split up the time of work when it comes to the full year, but much easier and clearer when focused on one chapter per month. Also, you rob yourself a powerful tool to improve your work. You will not get any of the positive emotional feedback of getting results if you only focus on long-term results. In this case, you will do another chapter next month, but you already have the satisfaction of finishing it and succeeding and getting into this upward spiral, this powerful positive momentum. The second element has to do with perfection and the way we naturally think about these things. For example, if you want to learn a new language, then the idea in your mind, in your fantasies, that you will be able to speak and read and communicate well and eventually even sound close to a native speaker. The problem is, this is a very huge task that looks like a mountain when you consider tackling it. If you envision learning a language that you start from zero and be able to speak so well, you will be able to communicate with natives without any problems, then this looks massive. Whereas, learning the foundation and speaking enough is a goal that is feasible. Somebody who can read and understand enough, that is a goal that isn't as massive as a mountain, and you might be able to do it in a reasonable time. So much so it could surprise you. Many skills, depending on how you connect with them and how much time and energy you are willing to spend on them, are fairly quickly to learn up to a percentage. Learning a language up to, let's say, 20%, 30%, or 60% is something you can figure out. It is going from 60 to 80% and 80 to 100% that takes a very long time. Mastery requires a lot of time and effort. Take many other skills for that as an example. Learning storytelling, it is incredibly difficult to master. Becoming a master storyteller is difficult, but reaching the 20 to 30% where you learn 5 to 10 to-dos and practice some stories and figure out why they're good or not, and then be able to go out and tell better stories, that is something you can do without a lot of time. Keep in mind, even if 30% is not enough and you desire mastery, you can always do 2 goals or 3 goals. You can always set one goal, get to 40%, and once you're there, you can now evaluate the situation and think, okay, I want to go to 60% or 80% or 100%, and then you make the next choice and set another goal, without any of the overwhelm that would normally come with your goal setting.